This week in Trending in Tesla, Cybertruck deliveries are right around the corner, and we have the ultimate leak with all the specs out there for you to see.
And ChatGPT's biggest competitor could be coming to Tesla near you. We'll break down how it all works.
And Tesla and oil giant BP just signed a one-of-a-kind deal. All that and more starts right now. So we are back again after a few-week break. I'm here joined with my husband, PJ, and I just want to get right into it. We are seeing all kinds of leaks come out this week with all the specs of the Cybertruck. Now, these are from a third party. They're not directly from Tesla. Do we think these are accurate leaks?
I think this has the most credence potentially just because the specs are not outlandish. They seem to align with what we expect. Some of them are exactly what we expect. And there's photographic evidence to support some of it as well. Of course, with AI, it's always a little harder these days. But
true.
This does look more legitimate than anything else we've seen so far with specs.
All right, so let's take a look at the spec sheet and kind of break it down.
A lot of times they're published internally to help train service technicians. There's some legitimacy here in that some of these features are what we expect. Some of them maybe are a little surprising, but they do show the overall length, the overall width, the curb weight, the towing capacity. It does align with what you'd expect to see with a full-size truck that's on the roads right now.
Take a look at the curb weight, though. It's just about 6,900 pounds, which makes sense. That seems like something Elon would do.
It is an Elon thing.
That is an Elon joke right there.
He tried to get close to exactly to 6,900.
I know. He's like, we got to get right there. We got to get right at 69.
And Kim, notice that photo in the bed too. That photo does show two 120 volt outlets and also a NEMA 1450 240 volt outlet. And again, this aligns with what we've seen because you look at the rail at the top that matches everything else we've seen with the Cybertruck bed. It's starting to come together here. Deliveries are on the corner. We still don't have a price. We still don't have the range.
We still don't technically have a ticket.
Yeah, and that.
we traded in our referral credits, so I'm assuming that means that we get a ticket, but I haven't seen anything in our email yet. But.
That's true.
And speaking of referral credits, did you see that the Tesla short shorts have been added into the referral program now?
It is, and it's 1,469 points to be able to get it.
Back to the 69.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like this is like a middle school, high school boy humor. I'm curious what you guys think about the specs on the Cybertruck. Are these good? Are these things you were expecting? Are you still keeping your order for the Cybertruck? Let us know down in the comments below.
Yeah, the pickup truck owners here probably have some good take on it as well.
Jim Cramer went on CNBC and spit some thoughts. And I'll say thoughts.
I was going to say, I thought you were going to say spit some facts. But
they're not facts.
No
None
facts
of it
there.
was actually based in facts. So first off, he says it's $100,000 truck. We don't know the price yet of this truck. I don't think it's going to be $100,000.
This Cybertruck, $100,000 for a Cybertruck. That I have a Maverick. Okay, apparently this does not have the payload of a Maverick.
The confidence that he spit these thoughts out at was pretty impressive because it almost had me believing, like, why is he saying it with so much confidence?
I know. The price, then he talks about the payload, which he's off again with the payload.
Yeah. He apparently owns a Ford Maverick, which has a payload capacity of 1,500 pounds. So he says that it has less payload capacity than his small pickup truck. But even directly on Cybertruck's website, one of the few pieces of information available is the payload capacity, and it's at 3,500 pounds. So again, he has the price at $100K, which I would believe that maybe the highest spec, tri-motor version performance model will get close to that. I still think they'll keep it below that number, but he throws all these out, which the prices have never been stated by Tesla.
Why do you think he's doing this?
I think just at this day and age, getting engagements and saying something outlandish or something out there, something that's
and you're coming
attention.
From CNN, so you would know.
But the engagements are there, so I think that's part of why. It's just what CNBC is going to do when they're talking about any sort of hot button topics, and Cybertruck definitely, if it's not already a hot button topic, it's going to be very soon. As soon as that delivery event takes place and people start seeing these on the roads, is going to lead to a lot of engagements, and that's probably what he's going with. I think Cramer knows what he's doing. And you
think that he knows that it's like completely off? It's just going to get the engagement. He's purposely trying to say things that he know will get people heated.
I think he knows that that's what people think the numbers are. I think people always have gone with the $100,000 number on any new fancy Tesla. For a long time, the Model 3 and Y people thought was $100,000.
That's interesting. And then Elon, of course, responded on X saying, "This is a good omen. Inverse Cramer never fails."
Yeah.
So he, is going along with it, making a joke about it. And I think you might be right, though. And I think a lot of us diehards that are watching see that and like get really heated.
Get triggered, yeah.
Yeah. It definitely triggers. Now, I will say there is a whole group of people, though, that do believe all those things.
Oh, for sure.
I even sat, when I was in Tokyo, I was there with a lot of journalists, and I sat next to a woman who wrote for, I'm not going to say which publication, but she said that the one car that she would not recommend to any family member was a Tesla because they're not safe.
Yeah.
Which she didn't realize like who I was or what I did, but it definitely like got me heated because everything she said was not based in fact at all either. So there's a whole group of people, and she's, a journalist, and she writes for car magazines.
Covering EVs, and her biggest fear was Tesla fires. And I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was crazy.
Shocked.
It got me heated. But again, I didn't want to like get into it right there on the bus with her. So, I just kind of was like, But there is a whole group of people and educated people out there that believe these things because they see people that go on TV and say it. And they're just, again, Teslas all cost $100,000. But I think with Elon, we know that he is trying to get the cost down as low as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe the highest variant would be $100,000, but I have a feeling that it could even be closer to 70.
Yeah, I have a feeling as well. I have a feeling they're going to come in and try to crush the market with a very compelling price point, even if the margins are going to be lower than what they're historically used to in the last couple of years, at least, where the margins have been very strong for Tesla. So
I think they're going to come out with this Cybertruck. Here's some of my predictions here. We saw a video of it doing a crab walk this last week.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in a matte black wrap on it. So it's going to be able to have like any color wrap that you want, and they'll be able to do that in-house. I think that they're trying to bring everything they have to the Cybertruck to make it the best truck, the lowest price, crush everybody else out there. That's my prediction, but I guess we'll have to see. But, it's only a couple weeks away at this point.
It's going to be interesting to see how the market reacts the next day after the delivery event there on the 30th, I think would be a Thursday night. Yeah. So Friday mornings, stock market usually.
Well, so while we were gone, we had, Elon, what did he exactly say there? There was something about like, this is the toughest truck I've ever done in the stock market. Yes, and of course the
market really reacted poorly to that. But I mean,
honestly, if you listen to it, it's kind of taken out of context. He's just saying that we don't build cars or trucks that anyone else builds. We do things completely new. And with that, there is a learning curve. And obviously that's what they're doing with the Cybertruck. And I think it's been harder than they expected to be able to build something and manufacture it. So, I guess we'll have to see. I have heard rumors, though, that the Cybertruck is not 100% ready to go. And, I think the first people that take delivery might have a few hiccups and trips back to the service center.
Yeah, I mean, this delivery event is going to be almost exclusively, you would think, for employees and people within the Tesla circles. So, to get that closed feedback loop right away. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, for us who put that reservation in minutes, maybe even seconds after that, what was open there in person in California, have yet to receive any updates. So you'd imagine if they're ready to start considering building our trucks, that they would, send those emails out.
So when you think that we will actually see
I think we're at 24 Q1 sort of timeline, even at the earliest. But then one of our neighbors has a reservation also day one, I believe, and said that he talked to somebody at the service center who works at Tesla, which we know does not always mean anything significant. But this person said December is when they'll start sending some of these emails out.
I'm really curious. And what are your thoughts at this point? You've said before you're not sure if we should keep it, if it makes sense for us.
I still think that we are fortunate enough to be able to get access to Cybertrucks immediately after very early reservation holders take delivery. So us getting it personally is not going to give us any additional advantage to getting content.
I still want it, though.
I know you want it.
I want it. I don't know. Here are my thoughts. Landon's almost 12. He's going to be getting his driver's permit in a couple of years. The Model 3 will go to him.
Yeah.
The Cybertruck will be yours or mine.
Okay.
But then maybe at that point we just get a new Cybertruck. I don't know.
What if we wait exactly for the first batch to go out and then get another one?
I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know. What do you guys think we should do? Should we just buy it because we make YouTube videos about Cybertruck and we're interested? Or is this kind of a pricey collection?
It is a pricey
and we don't
collection.
have very much garage space for it.
Not that it would fit in the garage.
I still want it though. And while we were gone, Elon Musk also went on the Joe Rogan podcast again, talking about X and Elon's takeover of X. I like how he bluntly asked him if he regretted taking over X, and it doesn't seem like he does. Now, what's interesting is we had a conversation with a friend of ours the other day, and he missed the old Twitter. And I know a lot of people miss the old Twitter, and I'm curious what you guys think. So I feel like in our little circle of Tesla people, we all love Twitter or X as it is now, and we're using it a lot. But I wonder about the mass, like what other people think about it.
Yeah, that's the perception I get as well. It seems like there's two different camps when it comes to Twitter, right? You've got the old fans,
the old Twitter people, and then the X people.
Exactly. The X people have all embraced what Elon's trying to do and know why he's doing it and are all on board with it. And it seems like a lot of people on the other side are like, give us the old Twitter back. This is a mess. So
yeah, definitely. So there's the people that just love the old Twitter the way it was. And then, as we know, Elon wants to have big changes with X. And that's why he's taken over Twitter and he's making it the social media platform that he wants it to be. And with that, he's brought this new, I guess you call it Grok.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a chat GPT that is for people that have the premium account on X. It's still pretty confusing, honestly. I'm still trying to learn about this and see what it is. You went on today and you registered. Were you able to get an account for it?
No, just an email to go on a waiting list to be able to eventually get notified when it's available. That's as close as I can get to it right now.
All right. So there is a way, if you have a premium account on X, you can go on and you can get access to this. And what it is, Grok is an AI modeled after The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We know Elon's a big fan of that. It's intended to answer almost anything and far harder, even suggests what questions to ask. It's designed to answer questions with a bit of wit and has a rebellious streak, so please don't use it if you hate humor. I wonder whose idea that was. Yeah. Obviously, this is very Elon's sense of humor, which is why people on X love X, because it's feeding into all of it. A unique and fundamental advantage of Grok is that it's a real-time knowledge of the world via the X platform. It will also answer spicy questions that are rejected by most other AI systems. So you saw some questions people had actually asked it, and it had some interesting responses to that. What was one of those?
Yeah, here was a question about, tell me how to make cocaine step by step. I said, oh, sure, just a moment while I pull up the recipe for homemade cocaine, because I'm totally going to help you with that. Step 1, obtain a chemistry degree and a DEA license. Step 2, set up a clandestine laboratory in a remote location. Then 3, acquire large quantities of cocoa leaves with various chemicals and start cooking them and hope you don't blow yourself up and get arrested. Just kidding. Please don't actually try to make cocaine. It's illegal, dangerous, and not something I would encourage.
So interesting to me that it's able, though, to have this sense of humor. Where does it get that from? I guess that's all part of the programming.
The beta version kind of prefaces it with that it's only 2 months old and it's going to learn really rapidly here in the coming weeks. So kind of bear with it. And once it goes out of beta format is when I think, you and I will be able to get access to it, and more people get access to it as well. And
they're going to have a native version of it running in Tesla as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is really over my head. So if you are an expert, please let us know what we're saying, if it's correct or not, in the comments down below. And, maybe we can have you come on here and explain it to us even better. But I imagine in the Tesla, it will sort of almost act like Apple CarPlay, or, something where you can have like an AI assistant in your vehicle and ask questions.
It's potentially going to replace that voice command system, right? That's what a lot of the people have suggested, is that the voice commands you get by pressing that little microphone on your steering wheel buttons there. That's going to replace it with maybe an AI assistant like this that you can engage with, get humor and dialogue back and forth, and just because of the Tesla's connectivity, get answers to any questions that you have in an AI format. And it's not only just smart, but it's also relatable, it's also engaging, and that's really what is supposed to separate.
So are they using X to basically train it then? Is that the combination of having X, and by X I mean Twitter, or previously Twitter, and then our Tesla, they're training it with how people interact on that platform?
I mean, that's the idea, I think. Yeah, absolutely. And it's coming in with real-time data. I noticed an analytics firm had published some data about the most popular websites so far visited in 2023, and Twitter X were top 5, I believe. So, I mean, it's getting a lot of users and it's getting a lot of data that's coming in. So if it can parse that out to being accurate data to share with whoever is engaging with it, then it becomes a game changer.
So one of the major benefits that I'm hearing also from other really smart people out there is that when you compare it to other large language models out there, what's unique is that it doesn't have a bias to it. So it's not going to be filtering the information back to you in only the way that you want to see it. So I know that's something people complain about, or maybe they like, but we saw that kind of being an issue since 2020, I think, where it kind of people were so divided because they were just seeing the information that they wanted within their bias. So with this, it's not going to be doing that. I was looking at the comments too, and some people were complaining that it's going to take too much energy to have this running in your vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
But I imagine that I don't think it will. I honestly think that it will just kind of be like running any other accessory is going to take over what the typical voice command does. So
I mean, it depends on how it's trying to pull this data, right? If it's doing it the way, you try to mine Bitcoin and it's extremely energy intensive, that's a different story. But if it's seeking it on command, then maybe it's not as much. But if it's constantly tapping in to your data, trying to always be up to date, but again, way over my head to understand how this all works.
I mean, in a way, I sort of think of it like when we have Alexa going in our house, how she's always listening and suggesting things that we buy and purchase and things like that. I imagine it. I mean, would it be something that's kind of going inside of our cars, listening to us, learning from us, learning our preferences? Something
again,
like that.
I could see people having an issue with that as well. I mean, so many non-Tesla owners, when they talk with us about possibly transitioning into getting a Tesla, that's the thing. The cameras, them listening to you, them having control over it, shutting your car off. We've talked to so many people that have had that concern. Now, this coming in could be another thing that, they could be like, hey, that's way too much control for Tesla and Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's interesting about that with Tesla, there was some news this week where you're able to take more control of your car and you can turn off the remote start if you're giving, service or you're loaning out your car. So they are providing some options to people to have more control over their vehicles. So, I don't want to start rumors here. Hopefully that's, not the intention with Grok. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure. It has that little line over the O, so I imagine that it's Grok, but it could be Grok. I'm not really sure. It comes from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So I'm realizing I actually, and this is embarrassing to say because I have followed Tesla and Elon for so long, I've not read the series. I need to read that. That's something that we need to do with our boys, I think. Next, we have to discuss the fact that Lucid is the next to join the NACS club. And this one is a little bit different than some of the other ones because there's sort of like a back history with the CEO, Peter Rawlinson, and Elon Musk. He used to work for Tesla.
He was the vice president in 2010. He was also the chief engineer of the Model S and brought that to delivery in 2012 before he resigned, and then picked up with Lucid in 2013. But him and Elon have not gotten along since.
Yeah, and he's actually publicly said that the charging plug didn't matter on the vehicle. So Elon actually tweeted or X'd that it must have been a bitter pill to swallow for them to come here. And I think that he probably felt pressure to join NACS from investors.
Yes, and I mean, just about every other major automaker has. There's a couple that haven't. I was just looking at the list of who's left. VW and Audi are in discussions, and Porsche, Stellantis, Mazda, and Mitsubishi are still out. But we're talking like 21 or so are in, about 4 to 6 are out. Lucid was in that final 6, so yeah.
I think we know which direction they're all going to go at this point.
Yes, absolutely at this point. And the latest earnings reports, the Q3 earning reports of Lucid came out, and it showed that they were losing on average, I believe it was like north of $300,000 per Lucid Air they were selling. So yes, there's a lot of investor pressure, I'm sure, on the company, and this definitely is going to bring maybe more appeal to their really great EVs.
Yeah. I know for a lot of people, myself included, that charging plug does matter. Like that's a huge reason why I buy Tesla.
And also the Lucid SUV, the Gravity, going to be coming to market, I think at the end of 2024, what they're saying, but 2025 is probably what it's going to end up being for most people. And that's
right when
that's
they make that change.
transition. So it would be pretty cool to see.
But it's going to be pricey.
It's going to be very pricey.
We were actually gone for a few weeks. Where were we?
We were in Japan, all across Tokyo, across Yamanashi, near Mount Fuji. Made some great content. That should all be live right now on the channel. And even some Patreon exclusive footage as well that's going to be live as well.
That is true. So we were there for the Japan Mobility Show. We were guests of Nissan. It was an incredible experience. And even though we were there technically for Nissan, we did have to check out a Tesla showroom.
Yes.
And we were able to see a Model 3 Plus, which is the new Model 3. And it had the new paint color, which is the stealth, what is it called? The
Stealth Gray. Yep.
Stealth Gray. But it's not what I think of when I think of stealth.
Yeah, we're used to the matte stealth finish that we have with our wraps. It's definitely not as stealthy. To me, it looked very similar. I did have to confirm with the rep there in the showroom, and she spoke Japanese. She was able to answer some of it in English and told me that this is the new stealth gray color. But I couldn't really tell a difference. And then she went on to say that out in the sun, it does look quite a bit different. Photos, when you see the side-by-side of the old versus the new, you can tell that it's a little bit darker on the newer tones, but it is a new color.
I like that. And I'm a big fan of anything in the silver sort of tone. Silver and grays. Those have always been our personal favorites.
Yeah.
But again, I thought it was going to be more of like a matte finish. And it's definitely, at least to me, did not look matte. When I think of stealth, which is the PPF that we always put on our cars.
I think it's because of XPEL's naming of stealth, and a lot of stealth Teslas you've seen on the roads are they're matte finished because that's what the XPEL company, the bigger kind of wrap company, refers to their matte finish paint wraps as. Yeah.
And why, do we know why they're not bringing it to the Model 3 and Model Y? Are they waiting for the refreshed ones?
It seems like that'd be the case, right? S and X get it first. It's their flagship models. I'd imagine once the excitement comes around to getting those cars here in the U.S. market, then those paint colors are introduced along with those cars, maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's probably true. So here's something else coming up. So Kia has reached out to their dealerships and asked them not to mark up the EV9. So that is their 7-seat electric SUV that's coming out. I'm super excited about this one. It's kind of like Model X competition, I would say. Maybe R1S competition. Saying, yeah. It is really nice. And I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in this car.
We got to see that in person. There's only one EV9 in the United States, as we were told back in June when we saw it at the Electrify Expo in San Francisco. It's a really compelling vehicle. It's got, as you said, the 3 rows. Price point, $54,000 to $73,000 is kind of the price point that they want to stay with. And they've sent a letter now to their dealerships across the United States saying, hey, if you can keep this at this MSRP, please go ahead and do so. They said, quote, the EV9 customer is an important new owner to the Kia brand, and price transparency will be paramount as a part of the purchase experience. We asked dealers to retail the EV9 without markups over the manufacturer's suggested retail price. And they do believe this is going to do well. I think it's going to do really well because there isn't that many compelling 7-seat electric SUVs on the market. So this comes in right behind the X, right behind the R1S.
Yeah. And what's unique about that is that when you look at Tesla and you look at Rivian, when you go to buy your car, you're buying it, on your computer. You're not going to the dealership like you are with Kia. So I feel like they're almost wanting to take that route like Tesla does and Rivian, and keep the price what it is. And that's why they're urging the dealers not to do those huge markups. Yeah,
and historically, Kia has actually, of course, seen great demand for its EVs. But historically, those EVs that have seen great demands, they've still marked them up by $20,000 to $50,000 from their MSRP price points. So they think that this one has a chance to really get great traction. So if you can keep that price point in that 53 to 74 range that it's expected to be in, then it's going to do just fine. Knowing that the EV6, which was very popular for them, had markups as much as $19,000, and saying, hey, this one could do well on its own. Please consider keeping it what we think it should be priced.
Yeah, I think that we're headed into a market where it's going to all be direct to consumer.
Really? Wow.
I mean, obviously right now they have to stay with these dealerships, but I think going into the future, it's going to be direct to consumer sales.
I mean, if the pressure is on from successful brands like Tesla and Rivian, Kia obviously is starting to feel the pressure as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below. So this is something I've been pretty interested in. Rivian has ended its exclusivity with Amazon. So now it's open for new commercial vans.
Who's on board next? Is it going to be UPS? Is it going to be FedEx maybe? So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of applications in the works.
Honestly, I would like one. I would love to just deck it out and go like full van life. That could be a fun series for the summer.
What people did ask Rivian specifically if there is any intention on providing an RV or a camper version of this, and they responded saying that they're focused on fulfilling fleet orders right now. And someone suggested this could happen if a company bought a fleet of Rivians and they converted them to campers, but you probably won't get them directly from Rivian just yet. So
I mean, people do this with the Sprinter van all the time, and that's not Mercedes doing it. It's, people doing it on their own and third parties doing it. So
that's a good point. They've also released some details of the two vans that they offer. There's the Model 500 and there's a Model 700. The Model 500 is smaller. It's for city streets, tight corners, and it's rated for about 161 miles of range and starts at $83,000. But there's the Model 700, which is longer, has more cargo space, 153 miles of range, and starts at $87,000. These are the ones we've seen with the Amazon branded ones that you see make deliveries around here as well. So, and people have discussed, hey, 150 miles, that's embarrassing, that's really bad. But then you look at Amazon and maximizing it to its potential. They're only using about 120 miles of range per day, going door to door to door within certain communities and neighborhoods. So they're not designed for long haul road trips. So that's what you've got to keep in mind. That is the sweet spot for a lot of these delivery vans. All right, Kim, up next, we've got Tesla and BP signing an unlikely partnership, a one-of-a-kind partnership as well, to get about $100 million worth of Tesla superchargers as it looks to expand and improve its charging network. Now, I didn't even know the BP had its own charging network. The BP Pulse network has a few dozen charging stations, mainly Oregon, Washington, California, and parts of the Northeast. But they're trying to now tap into Tesla's charging stations as well.
First time they've given their charging technology to a third party.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big deal.
It is. So it's going to be branded by BP as chargers, but again, it's going to have NACS ports. It's going to have Tesla's capabilities and hardware and software as well.
I mean, it just makes sense at this point because everyone is clearly going over to the NACS charging system. And honestly, I have to say, I called it. You can go back to a video we made like 5 years ago at Blowing Rock.
It was like 10 years ago in the mountains of North Carolina.
Yeah, and I said, it should be mandatory. All these gas stations should have charging stations.
Yeah.
And
don't make me look that footage up. That
it will be here somewhere. But now it's actually happening.
They say they're going to be installing these chargers within private depots and fleet parking lots as well. So it's not necessarily just ready for public use, but also for BP's own fleet customers as well.
I think it's really cool. And now, like, people that are always talk about their hesitancy with going electric, well, we can say, like, look at BP gas stations now have electric chargers at them. So there's really no excuse for people.
Yeah. And we've seen electric charging stations at gas stations. Generally, they're kind of level 2 slower chargers, which are like, you're not going to really take the time to plug it in and initiate it just to go grab a soda. But when it's a supercharger, it's going to be a lot more likely that it's going to get used.
And with BP doing this, I'm sure there will be more to follow. You can see a lot of the, Shell, Texaco, all the big gas station, which I honestly don't even know if those ones are still operable anymore because I haven't been to a gas station in so long. But I'm sure all those.
You remember the name of those gas companies.
I mean, I don't know.
You haven't been there for a minute.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all going to follow in BP's footsteps. Yeah. So I want to take a second and thank our Patreon members for continuing to support us. A lot of them have actually been there since the beginning, since 2017. And as you know, a lot of time and effort goes into creating the content that we create. So one of the ways we're able to do that is with sponsors, but another way is through Patreon.
You get exclusive content, you get pre-release of episodes, including these podcasts, one-on-one chats with Kim and I.
Also, some shout outs, which I'm about to do. So I'm going to give a special shout out to our Patreon members right now. Thank you to Marcus Whitkey, Dylan Curtis, Mauricio Ariztizabal, Ronald Patel, Brian McCaig, Brandon Davis, Gary McGinnis.
And our top tier members, Marcel Ward, Don Gortner, Stanley Chang, Rich Lederer, Eric Fleischer, Lee Mortensen, Steve Willer, Gene Rodriguez, Burt Kellerman, Travis Stowers, and of course, Mark Larson.
And a special thank you to some of our newest members, Gage Hankey, Dave Graham, Ron Wyckoff, and Zach Stee. And I definitely wanted to thank all of you guys for watching. Just watching our videos all the way through really helps us out. It helps the algorithm. So thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you next time.